The house was steeped in an oppressive silence following the funeral, each corner weighed down by the echoes of a life that had quietly faded into the past. Seated in solitude at the dining table, I gazed into the depths of a half-finished cup of coffee, engulfed by a sense of disorientation that surpassed anything I had ever imagined. The burden of solitude enveloped me, a dense and persistent mist that refused to lift. Just as I believed the night would engulf me entirely, a gentle knock echoed at the door. With a mix of confusion and caution, I opened the door to reveal my son's best friend, his eyes brimming with an emotion I couldn't quite grasp, an emotion that promised to alter the course of everything. The instant my gaze fell upon him, an inexplicable shiver coursed through my being. Under the glow of the porch light, Jason, my son's closest companion, appeared transformed. He had shed the image of the lanky teenager who once plundered our refrigerator and dozed off in the living room following epic video game marathons. He stood tall, broad-shouldered, his face etched with the gravity of a man who had traversed the world and borne its burdens. For a brief moment, silence enveloped us both. The night air lingered around us, heavy with unspoken words. "Text, I regret your loss," he finally spoke, his voice resonating with a depth and steadiness that felt unfamiliar yet comforting. I nodded, at a loss for words. Grief had taken so much from me. My husband, my laughter, my sense of belonging, and now even my voice. Jason shifted uncomfortably, cradling a small container in his hand. "I brought you something," he added, extending his hand. A straightforward, lovingly crafted casserole from the comfort of home. It was a gesture both minuscule and monumental, one that broke through the delicate barrier I had constructed within. "Thank you," I murmured, moving aside to grant him entry. The house engulfed him in a heartbeat, as if it craved vitality and noise with an insatiable hunger. He placed the casserole on the kitchen counter, then turned to me, worry evident in his expression. "How are you holding up?" he asked softly, his gaze probing mine in a manner that made me feel truly seen, perhaps for the first time in weeks. I offered a constrained, mirthless smile. "Surviving," I uttered, my voice trembling as I spoke the word. Jason paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes, before he took an unexpected turn of action. He extended his hand and made contact with mine, not in a transient, perfunctory manner, but in a firm, reassuring way that reverberated deep within my chest. I felt the urge to withdraw, to sink into my shroud of melancholy, yet a part of me fought against it. I craved the bond. I longed for a presence to awaken the realization that I was still breathing. "Do you want me to stay for a bit?" he asked, his voice tinged with a hint of shyness, as though he feared crossing an invisible boundary. As I surveyed the vacant house, the photo frames clinging to the walls seemed to echo with memories. And once more, the oppressive silence enveloped me like a heavy shroud. Indeed, I mentioned earlier that I might overthink it. Kindly, we transitioned into the living room, a realm imbued with a blend of solace and melancholy. Jason perched on the edge of the couch, while I nestled into the opposite end, draping a throw blanket over my lap for warmth. For a few moments, we lingered in silence, the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the sporadic creak of the aging house the only sounds breaking the stillness. It was peculiar how instinctive it seemed to have him by my side, serving as a connection between the life I had left behind and the ambiguous future that awaited me. Our conversation began with the ordinary, touching on his experiences at the new job and the transformations the neighborhood had undergone during his time at college. Slowly, the dialogue began to delve into more profound depths. He inquired about my husband, about the things I longed for the most. It was an unassuming question, yet it shattered something deep within me. I discovered that I was voicing thoughts I had long suppressed, afraid that their burden would shatter me. I spoke of the laughter that echoed in the stillness of the night, the serene mornings that unfolded gently, and the exchanged glances that conveyed 1,000 unspoken sentiments. Jason absorbed the words, allowing silence to fill the space, refraining from any urge to mend or alter the moment. He simply listened, his focus so complete and immediate that it caused a pang in my chest. And then, when I finally exhausted my words, He leaned in and said, "You are permitted to miss him and still crave companionship." The declaration struck me with such unfiltered honesty, a truth so excruciatingly real, that I found myself needing to shut my eyes for a brief moment to regain my composure. I opened them to discover him nearer than ever, his face cloaked in shadow yet his eyes radiant. In their gaze, there was no trace of pity, only a profound understanding, a silent, unvoiced promise of solace. For a fleeting instant, I sensed I was poised on the brink of something perilous yet exquisite, a force that could either mend my wounds or shatter me even more. My heart pounded within my chest, a mix of hesitation and an unexpected readiness. It had been an eternity since someone had gazed at me in such a way, as if I were desired, not discarded. My breath hitched, and I sensed the charged atmosphere in the narrow gap that separated us. For the first time in what seemed like an eternity, I permitted myself to ponder the possibility that moving forward need not equate to forgetting. What if it signified the discovery of something fresh, something gentle and restorative amidst the remnants of what has been lost? Jason must have noticed the shift in my gaze, for he offered a slow, tentative smile that held within it a myriad of unvoiced promises. My heart quickened. Uncertain of the night's destination, I found an unexpected sense of calm washing over me. I existed, and I was prepared to embrace emotions once more. Jason moved just enough for his knee to graze mine, and that unintentional touch caught my breath in my throat. It would have been effortless to walk away, to forge a chasm and feign that the moment had never transpired, yet I chose not to. I lingered in that moment, sensing the warmth where our skin connected, allowing it to fill the empty, frigid voids within me. His gaze lingered on mine with a deliberate intensity, offering me countless moments to withdraw, every possibility to decline. Yet I remained fixed in place, my heart racing with a fervor that drowned out any words I might have uttered. In a moment of instinct, I extended my hand and made contact with his, my fingers gently enveloping his. His hand exuded warmth and steadiness, its slight callousness a sharp contrast to the quivering vulnerability that stirred within me. He answered by lifting his palm, weaving his fingers together with mine. The act of reaching out, so straightforward yet profoundly personal that it constricted my throat with feeling. I had lost sight of the sensation of being touched in such a way, not from a sense of obligation or duty, but from a place of true care and presence. Jason inched nearer, closing the gap that lingered between us. His hand rose gradually, with a touch of uncertainty, to gently tuck a wayward strand of hair behind my ear. His fingertips brushed against my skin, and a shiver coursed down my spine. For what felt like an eternity, he regarded me, his eyes laden with significance. "You are so beautiful," he whispered, his voice imbued with a reverence that felt almost sacred. It had been years since anyone had spoken to me with such raw, unfiltered sincerity. The tears threatened to spill, stinging the backs of my eyes, yet I blinked them back, determined not to let them cascade down my cheeks. Instead, I surrendered to his touch, allowing his hand to gently cradle my cheek. The outside world faded away, the sorrow, the solitude, the ceaseless stream of hollow sympathies, until only this moment remained, just him and me, and the profound yearning that lingered between us. He edged nearer, and I sensed the warmth of his breath brushing against my lips. A moment hung in the air, a palpable hesitation, as though he was offering me one last chance to retreat, yet I found myself unwilling to take it. I bridged the gap, softly placing my lips against his. The kiss began gently, a hesitant brush of lips, as though we both feared the slightest movement could shatter the moment. Yet, in that moment of hesitation, as I tilted my head to forge a deeper bond, he reacted with an intensity that sent my heart racing uncontrollably. His arms encircled me, drawing me close, and in that moment, after what felt like an eternity, I experienced the profound sensation of being held, genuinely, profoundly held. The kiss deepened, a fervent urgency enveloping us, as though we were both striving to reclaim the moments we had missed. My hand glided up his chest, sensing the strength concealed beneath his shirt, the tangible essence of him anchoring me in a manner I had not recognized I so fervently craved. He withdrew slightly, his gaze locking onto mine, probing for any hint of remorse. Yet, all he would have discovered was a profound yearning, an intense, unmistakable desire to reclaim the essence of life, to be desired, to be acknowledged. "Do you truly believe that?" he inquired, his tone gravelly and subdued. I nodded, speech escaping me, and that was all the consent he required. He rose, taking my hand with a tender pull, guiding me toward the staircase. Each step was heavy with expectation, and every look exchanged between us brimmed with unvoiced vows. As we entered my bedroom, my hands quivered, not from fear, but from the exhilarating anticipation of what lay ahead. Jason approached the task with a delicate touch, his movements imbued with a sense of reverence as he assisted me in shedding my cardigan. His fingers grazed my skin, igniting a warmth that lingered long after. He pressed his lips to the hollow of my throat, tracing the curve of my shoulder, lingering as though he wished to relish every inch of my being. I reciprocated, my fingers weaving through his hair, tracing the firm contours of his back, sensing the rhythm of his muscles as they tensed and relaxed beneath my caress. As he gently placed me on the bed, a wave of tenderness washed over me, stirring a deep ache in my heart. He lingered above me. For a fleeting instant, his gaze absorbed me, as though etching every nuance into his memory. "You are incredible," he murmured, his voice laced with wonder, and for a fleeting moment, I found myself believing it as well, if only for tonight. The remainder of our garments vanished gradually, without haste, each item cast aside as if releasing the weight of bygone lives, lingering sorrows. His touch was not marked by the clumsy enthusiasm of youth, but rather by a profound, tender care that rendered every part of me both seen and cherished. Each kiss, each gentle touch, each softly spoken word served as a soothing remedy for the scars I had concealed for ages. The tangible bond we shared crackled with energy, yet it was the depth of our emotional closeness that truly unraveled me. His gaze held mine, unwavering and profound, making me feel not shattered or flawed, but treasured in a way I had never known. Our bodies swayed in harmony, entwined in a timeless rhythm, a languid, intimate dance that crescendoed, enveloping us entirely. When I finally cried out his name, it was not merely a release I experienced. It was a profound rebirth. It was the restoration of a fragment of my being I had believed was gone for good. In the aftermath, we found ourselves entwined, our breaths gradually synchronizing, the space around us enveloped in a gentle, golden hush. Jason's fingers glided over my arm, languid and gentle, as though he feared the moment would slip away. I laid my head against his chest, attuned to the rhythmic pulse of his heart, resonating softly beneath my ear. For once, the suffocating burden of solitude did not bear down upon me. Rather, I experienced a sense of warmth, stability, and support. He placed a gentle kiss on the crown of my head and murmured, "You are not alone anymore." I shut my eyes and allowed the essence of those words to envelop me. In the course of one night, Jason illuminated the myriad forms that love can assume, revealing that healing, despite its chaotic and intricate nature, remains within reach. In the depths of my sorrow, I lingered too long on the shadows of what had slipped away, losing sight of the light that beckoned with the promise of new beginnings. Enveloped in his embrace, I finally permitted myself to entertain the notion that life might still unveil unforeseen beauty, even in the wake of profound sorrow. Perhaps, just perhaps, I was prepared to seek it out once more. The morning light seeped gently into the room, illuminating the disheveled sheets and the residual warmth of the previous night. I stirred slightly, caught between the anticipation of waking up alone and the familiar weight of the emptiness that had settled in as a constant companion. Yet Jason remained, his arm enveloping me in a protective embrace, his breath a calm and rhythmic presence against my hair. In that fleeting moment, I surrendered to the warmth of that embrace, free from questions and doubts, wholly immersed in the sensation of being. Even as my body settled against his, my mind started its restless unwinding. Reality, as ever, insisted on recognition. I had aged, bearing the scars of my past, laden with a wealth of experiences that he could never truly grasp. What we experienced last night was undeniably beautiful, even sacred, yet I wonder if it can endure beyond the delicate cocoon we crafted in the shadows. Fear seeped in gradually, stealthily, saturating the fissures of my heart with a chilling doubt. Jason stirred, attuned to my unease, and his fingers glided softly along my arm. "Penny for your thoughts," he murmured, his voice heavy with the remnants of slumber. I smiled with a hint of sorrow, my fingers wandering aimlessly across his chest. How could I convey to him the depth of my terror? No matter how gentle he was, a part of me remained convinced that this was fleeting, a lovely mirage destined to be broken by the light of day. I found myself pondering, my voice barely above a whisper, as I selected my words with precision, that the events of last night seemed almost too exquisite to be true. Jason raised my chin softly, compelling me to gaze into his eyes. In that moment, there was an absence of doubt, a complete lack of remorse, and only a steadfast authenticity shone through. It was real, he asserted with conviction, each fleeting moment of it. Yet, uncertainty lingered in the shadows, whispering its discontent. What might others perceive if they were aware? Would they perceive me as desperate, pitiful, grasping at a transient connection to alleviate my solitude? Would there come a day when Jason would awaken, gaze upon me with newfound clarity, and come to understand that he was worthy of someone younger, simpler? I wrapped the blanket more snugly around me, as though it could protect my heart from the pain that was bound to come. Feeling the change within me, Jason adjusted his position, leaning on one elbow. "You're overthinking again," he remarked, a gentle smile gracing his lips. Such actions often arise from a place of fear. My eyes widened, taken aback by the effortless way he seemed to see right through me. "Perhaps fear resides within me," I confessed. "In the bloom of youth, the vast expanse of life stretches before you, filled with endless possibilities. I refuse to become a regret in your life." His expression gentled, and he extended his hand to cradle my cheek. "You are not a mistake," he said, his thumb gently wiping away a tear I hadn't even noticed had slipped down my cheek. "In my eyes, you embody courage and grace like no other. Last night transcended the mere act of filling a void. It was a quest for authenticity. My heart yearned to trust him. Oh, how fervently I wished to trust him. Yet the scars of the past had a tendency to murmur deceit in the stillness of solitude. I pressed my cheek against his hand, absorbing the heat radiating from him, seeking to silence the whispers of uncertainty that plagued my mind. "What unfolds next?" I murmured. "When the world re-enters our lives, when it is no longer just you and I sheltered within the confines of this room." Jason paused briefly, as though he were meticulously considering his forthcoming words. "I may not possess all the answers," he confessed, "but I am certain of my feelings, and I refuse to turn my back on you." His words enveloped me like a gentle explosion, calming yet failing to dispel the lingering pain of doubt. As we donned our clothes and navigated the familiar rituals of a typical morning, an unvoiced weight hung in the air between us. Each casual touch of his hand, each lingering look, carried the weight of an unspoken understanding that a significant change had occurred between us. We were no longer merely two solitary beings seeking fleeting refuge. We were now bound together in a manner that both frightened and soothed me in equal measure. The sudden knock at the door sent a jolt through us both. Jason cast a fleeting look in my direction, a wordless inquiry hanging in the air, seeking my permission for him to respond. I shook my head, donning my sweater and gently smoothing my hair. "Whoever it may be, they can bide their time." I required a brief pause to collect my thoughts, to determine just how much of the enchantment from the previous night I was prepared to reveal to the outside world. The true struggle lay not in the judgments of those around me, but in the confrontation with my own trepidation. Apprehension of embracing vulnerability once more, trepidation in daring to dream, and the hesitation to unveil my heart to that which lies beyond my control. Jason approached from behind, encircling my waist with his arms and gently resting his chin upon my shoulder. "Whatever lies ahead," he murmured softly, we will confront it side by side. His words, though unadorned, bore the profound weight of a promise I had not yet recognized I craved so deeply. For the first time in what seemed like an eternity, I allowed myself to embrace that promise. I allowed myself to embrace not the illusions of fairy tales or flawless conclusions, but the chaotic, exquisite potential of something genuine, something deserving of the struggle. Perhaps, just perhaps, that sufficed. The subsequent days were fraught with difficulty, yet they bore an undeniable authenticity. In those fleeting moments, uncertainty lingered, doubts crept in, and I found myself pondering whether this delicate bond we shared could endure beyond that singular night. Yet Jason remained steadfast. As I withdrew, gripped by trepidation, he gently drew me back with unwavering patience. In moments of uncertainty, he would gently remind me through subtle gestures and unwavering words that love often comes to us in unexpected forms. At times, it arrives softly, weaving its way through the fissures of a shattered heart and taking root tenaciously, exquisitely defying all expectations. We cherished our bond in secrecy, relishing the intimate moments that belonged solely to us. The fleeting looks exchanged from across the room, the clandestine touches, the whispered late-night dialogues that mended the fractured pieces of our souls. Challenges arose, naturally, yet we faced them together, recognizing that our bond, while not flawless, was rooted in sincerity. Jason always treated me with kindness, never allowing me to feel like an inconvenience or an error. He illuminated my existence, embracing me with a sense of belonging and affection, not in spite of my imperfections, but because of them. One evening, as the sun sank low and bathed the world in a gentle golden hue, Jason grasped my hand and whispered, "You saved me too." I smiled through the tears that gathered in my eyes, coming to understand that perhaps this was not merely about mending old scars. Perhaps it was a matter of constructing something unprecedented, an aspiration neither of us had the courage to envision, yet both of us craved more than we had ever experienced.